All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about Hermeticism. I know, it sounds super obscure, right? But its ideas have quietly been shaping, well, just about everything, from modern science to that self-help book sitting on your nightstand. It really is the ultimate everything old is new again story.
So when you hear the word Hermetic, your mind probably jumps to one of two things. Either, dusty robes and bubbling potions, or a really well-sealed Tupperware container. And look, we are kind of talking about the dusty robes version. But what it's truly about is something that feels surprisingly modern, a philosophy that connects ancient magic directly to your chemistry set, and even your soul.
So, yeah, welcome to the thrice great rabbit hole. We're about to see how this incredible collection of ancient wisdom got lost for centuries, then found again, and ended up paving the road for modern spirituality and even science itself.
But first things first, we got to meet the so-called author of these texts, a figure named Hermes Trismegistus. And as you can probably guess from the title here, he was a bit of a mashup.
And to get what's happening here, you need to know this one key word, syncretism. It's just a fancy term for a remix, taking different beliefs, different gods, different ideas, and blending them all together into something new. And honestly, Hermes Trismegistus might be one of the greatest examples of this in all of history.
So here's what happened. Early scholars down in ancient Alexandria essentially took the Greek god Hermes, the messenger with the winged sandals, and they blended him with the Egyptian god Thoth, the deity of writing, wisdom, and magic. Put them together, and what do you get? Hermes Trismegistus, which means Hermes the thrice great, a single, powerful figurehead for all this ancient wisdom.
And what's so cool about the texts written under his name is what they were for. This wasn't just some abstract philosophy to debate in a classroom. The people writing this stuff in Alexandria thought they were creating a practical guide, like a user manual for the soul, designed to help you understand your real place in the universe and reconnect with the divine.
Okay, now let's hit the fast-forward button by about 1,000 years. These incredible texts, they largely just disappeared. But the rediscovery during the Renaissance didn't just make a splash, it sparked a genuine intellectual revolution.
This timeline really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? I mean, look at that massive gap. The texts are written around the 2nd century, and then poof, they're basically gone from the West. Then, in the 1460s, a manuscript lands in Florence in the hands of the great patron Cosimo de' Medici. And get this, he literally told his top scholar to stop translating Plato to work on this first. That's how earth-shattering he thought this was. So why? Why drop Plato for this? Because they believed they had found the Prisca Theologia, the original, single, true theology from the very dawn of time. They thought Hermes Trismegistus was a real Egyptian priest who lived around the same time as Moses and had actually predicted the coming of Christianity. For them, this was it. This was the master key that unlocked every religion.
So what do these incredible texts actually say that got everyone so excited? Well, let's look at the two biggest chart toppers from the main collection, which is called the Corpus Hermeticum.
First up, there's a text called the Poemandres. It describes this amazing cosmic vision where a divine mind explains how the whole universe was created. But the core message is what's so powerful. It says that human beings aren't just biological accidents. We each contain a divine spark, a literal piece of the Creator. And the whole point of being alive is to wake up to that divinity inside yourself. You aren't just a cog in the machine, you're a co-creator.
And then there's this. This is arguably the single most famous phrase in all of Western esotericism. It comes from a super short, super potent text called the Emerald Tablet. As above, so below. It's such a simple and beautiful way of saying that the universe, the macrocosm, and you, the individual, the microcosm, are perfect reflections of each other. The patterns in the stars are mirrored in the patterns of your own cells.
Now this idea of interconnectedness, right? That the small reflects the large. It wasn't just a nice thought. It was seen as a set of instructions for how to actually influence the world. And this leads us straight into the fascinating collision of magic and science. Let's talk about alchemy.
For centuries, we've had this cartoon image of alchemists as greedy old men trying to get rich quick. But for a true Hermetic alchemist, the great work had nothing to do with money. It was entirely spiritual. Turning lead into gold was this powerful metaphor for purifying the human soul, for transforming the heavy, dull lead of ignorance into the shining, enlightened gold of divine wisdom.
So, if this was all just spiritual metaphors and magic, you might be pretty surprised to learn which absolute giant of the scientific revolution was secretly completely obsessed with it all.
Isaac Newton. Yep, that's right. The man who gave us the laws of motion, universal gravitation, the foundations of modern physics. He spent more time translating and studying Hermetic texts like the Emerald Tablet than he ever spent on physics. For Newton, science wasn't the opposite of God. It was the method you used to decode the mind of God, to understand the divine blueprint of reality.
So how does all this ancient history, Alexandria, the Renaissance, Isaac Newton, how does it all echo into our world today? Well, it's probably way more familiar than you realize.
So, in 1908, this book called The Kabbalion comes out, and it basically repackages all these ancient ideas into 7 easy-to-digest modern principles. For instance, the principle of mentalism says the all is mind, the universe is mental, which is that divine thought idea we talked about. And the principle of correspondence, that is literally just a restatement of as above, so below. The book took these core Hermetic concepts and made them super accessible for a whole new generation.
And this is where you can really see the legacy. When you hear people today talking about manifesting their reality, that's a direct, practical application of that principle of mentalism. When they talk about good vibes, that's the principle of vibration, the idea that everything is always moving and carries its own frequency. These are direct echoes of Hermetic philosophy, whether people know where they came from or not.
So, when you boil it all down, the crucial point here is a radical shift in how you see everything. Hermeticism teaches that the universe isn't some cold, dead, clockwork machine, but a living, conscious, divine thought. And if the whole universe is a thought, then everything inside it, including you, is totally and completely interconnected.
Which brings us right back to that central idea, and our final thought for you. Hermetism's core teaching is that you are a mirror of the entire cosmos. So, if as above, so below is really true, it leaves us with a pretty profound question to think about. What does the universe inside you look like?